Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerdlings of all ages, hello and welcome to another Gosu Gamers Hearthstone deck guide. Now, today we're going to be talking a little bit about Yogg-Saron and Druid. In a meta where Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior are kings, it almost seems like every other deck is a tier behind, but Yogg Druid is gradually becoming quite a strong deck, and a lot of people do fear it and respect it when playing against it, especially on ladder. So you've got strong ramp cards and a really explosive mid game as well, and a very powerful comeback mechanic. And all of these combined for us to really suggest that you should try some of these variations if you're looking for a challenging deck to climb the ladder with. So let's take a look at how this unfolds and check out some of our general strategy and our key cards. First of all, we have to say it's very similar to the classic mid-game builds that Druid had before the nerf. Yogg Druids, they have a slow start, but they do bloom in the mid-game. Ramping up, of course, extremely important for Druid, and therefore the key cards, as always, are Wild Growth and Innovate. It's a unique mechanic for Druid. If you don't take advantage of this, it really is folly. You might as well not be playing Druid, it can be argued. So aggressively mulligan for these cards, because when you get ahead in the mana race, it's absolutely critical for all Druid decks, and this one is no exception. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's take a look at some of the cards that Yogg Druid plays in the mid game. There are plenty of options for you to cause havoc here, and one of the main cards I'm going to be talking about in this video is Violet Teacher. It's your primary board builder, and it forces your opponents to have mass removal or perish. In many situations, it can be that simple. We've also got Fandral as well, the new Druid legendary, and it turns loads of choose one cards and spells into ridiculous tempo advantages. It's going to be so much fun to be able to play this card out. And at the end of the curve, you have cards like Cenarius, it's a very flexible threat, and Yogg-Saron, of course, the namesake of this deck, and its comeback mechanic all in one. So this is really what your deck is going to be playing around. Now remember, you're playing Druid. Ramping up is always going to be priority number one. Aggressively look for Wild Growth and Innovate. They create the tempo plays that the entire class is built on. Don't forget this. Being a turn ahead in terms of mana is absolutely invaluable, and so is innovating a big threat or two to move turns just a little bit more quickly to force an awkward state of the game for your opponent. That's really what you're looking for as well. And as the deck relies on combining cards in the mid game, you'll want as much mana as possible. Right. Now, let's take a look against what you do against aggro decks, because there can be quite a few of those, and they do tend to run into problems sometimes. So if you know you're playing against an aggro deck, keep the cheap removal spells in your hand. So stuff like Living Roots and Wrath, they're fantastic at clearing early game minions like Knife Juggler and Tunnel Trog. Feral Rage is also a great card in selected matchups. For example, versus Warrior, removing a Frothing Berserker before it can grow can be a bit problematic, but you just want to be able to get rid of it. So just keep that in mind as well. And you'll notice, by the way, that off here I have Raven Idol. Now, you'll be tempted to keep it. Don't. Raven Idol is not only a cheap spell, but it's one that's really best synergized with Violet Teacher and Fandral. Very, very important. When the game is developed a bit and you want its flexibility, you need to use it to adapt to the state of the match. You don't want to just be playing it out very early on in the game. That is not where you get the most value out of this card, so do not keep Raven Idol if you can help it. Right. So let's talk about mid-game and the synergy now. Beyond turns 4 and 5 is really where Yogg Druid is the strongest because of two of its key cards. We've covered them already, Violet Teacher and Fandral Staghelm. So let's take a look at them one by one. Violet Teacher has long been a staple in token-based Druid decks, and the class has the option to run many cheap value spells. So things haven't really changed in Old Gods. In fact, Violet Teacher might just be stronger now than it was before. There are about 12 spells costing 0 to 2 mana in Yogg Druids, not counting the ones generated by Raven Idols, so you can see the huge potential here of Violet Teacher. Power of the Wild is also Violet Teacher's best friend. Imagine if you go Violet Teacher, Innovate, Power of the Wild. It's a popular combo that puts a 4/6, 2/2, and another 2/2 on the board as early as turn 4. You can already see how this is extremely potent. And you think that's strong? Imagine when you have the coin and you also have Living Roots, which you can see on the screen here. Then you get a 4/6 and 4 2/2s on turn 4. Are you beginning to see just how unbelievably powerful this combination could be? If the Violet Teacher goes unchecked for a turn, it's usually game over because the chain of cheap spells in this deck can really get out of hand. Now, while setting up big Violet Teacher boards is relatively easy, provided you don't waste your spells early on, Fandral needs a special setup and specific cards. As evident from its effects, Fandral works best with choose one cards and is typically a value and tempo machine. The best way to get value out of Fandral is to play him alongside one of the choose one cards, but it's only really possible with the cheap ones. So if you look at Fandral plus Living Roots, for example, 2 damage and 2 1/1s, Fandral plus Wrath, for instance, you get 4 damage and you also get to draw a card. Fandral Raven Idol, you get both Discovers, and finally Fandral Power of the Wild, you get a 3/2 Panther plus the buff. So that tends to be the kind of play you want to be able to get. However, the fun really begins when you get to keep Fandral alive for several turns so that the big spells can be cast alongside its effect. Let's take a look at some of those and how disgusting it can get. So the most potent ones you see on your screen now. Fandral Feral Rage, 4 damage and 8 armor, not bad. Fandral Nourish, 3 cards plus 2 mana, yes please. Fandral Maya Keeper, a 3/5, 3/3 and a 2/2 on the board, because why not? And finally, I just love these. Fandral and Ancient of War, a 10/10 taunt. Oh my goodness, are you insane? This is fantastic news. And finally, Fandral Scenarios, a board that's basically just too huge. It's really, really nice stuff. So if you can keep Fandral alive, that's great. And much like Violet Teacher, Fandral can win a game just through the value he can generate from the choose one spells. So try and keep him alive and don't just drop him on the board if there's nothing to play with him on the next turn, or if there's no way to protect him in terms of taunts and removal spells. You really want to keep Fandral alive as much as possible, and it really is a key card in this deck. Now, other mid-game minions you would find useful in this deck include Maya Keeper. It's 2/2 token or emergency ramp effect. Both of them can come in useful. Azure Drake as well, because when do you not want to draw cards, right? You just need to be able to get them as quickly as possible, especially when you have so many great cheap spells to use with Fandral and Violet Teacher. And finally, Emperor Thaurissan, always useful to cheapen cards and enable easier and more powerful combinations for yourself as well. So that's the deck in a nutshell, and you'll notice I haven't spoken about one card in particular, but don't worry, we're getting onto him now. It is, of course, Yogg-Saron. Yogg-Saron is the namesake of this deck, and although it seems like he isn't making much in terms of the way of participation, he's absolutely invaluable. The deck plays a lot of spells, and that obviously feeds Yogg's madness. He represents the deck's comeback mechanic, the last resort for when your opponent has survived and dealt with your mid-range boards. Playing from behind is something Druids have always been bad at because, frankly, there aren't that many powerful board clears. It's just really frustrating. So Yogg serves as a more unpredictable, evil, and fun alternative to the good old Force Savage combo. Ideally, you want to play Yogg-Saron when at least 7 spells have been cast by you. And depending on who you ask, the debated sort of gold range is between 9 and 12 spells. Now, why do we say that? Because fewer than that and you risk doing too little, but more than that and you risk accidentally killing yourself. So that's kind of roughly the band that a lot of people agree on at the moment, and of course that is subject to change. So try playing Yogg yourself when your opponent has a big board that you can't deal with. You need that final point of damage, and all hope is lost, and you frankly just need to Yogg and pray. Praise Yogg and all that. It's rarely good to play Yogg early, okay? So very important to mention that. Ideally, you want to win with your normal minions. But delaying him too much could be an issue too. Yogg is known for milling his controllers, so don't pull the trigger if you barely have any cards left. Dying to fatigue is absolutely not the aim of this game. So that is the deck in a nutshell, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of deck lists that I have prepared here to share with you. There are 2 deck lists on screen now that you can try and play. The one on the left is the standard Yogg mid-range Druid that we've been talking about during this guide. I'll let you read through that. You can kind of check it out, maybe try a couple of games, see how you like it. But the one on the right is actually quite fun in my opinion. It's the token-focused version of the deck. It uses many of the same synergy cards like Violet Teacher and Fandral Staghelm, but it also plays Wisps of the Old Gods, and it acts as an additional board generator, so it's just loads and loads of fun. And Soul of the Forest as well. What a great tool to protect your Teacher and Wisps from board clears. So special thanks to Jackie Chan, as you can see over here on the right for this deck. He definitely gets the credit for that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this guide, and maybe it will inspire you to check out some of the potential Yogg variations in your decks for ladder play as well. This has been another Gosu Gamers Hearthstone deck guide. Make sure you go ahead and click like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time for some more deck building action. Take care.